when we look at the evidences before us, we use our human rationale and our faculties of reasoning, we can come to the conclusion that, you know what, if there was an infinite universe, the present wouldn't arrive. Therefore, an actual infinite in the real world cannot exist. So there are philosophers, for instance, just very quickly, philosophers who say that you can do beautiful mathematics regarding the infinite. David Hilbert did it, Cantor did it, but they did it on paper, only in the mind. If you try and transpose, if you try and take that infinite and claim that there is an actual infinite existing in the real world, then you come across these paradoxes.
So I think the point is, obviously, within infinity, if you're taking single steps, there's no end to reach. Like, you can keep going along that direction.
Precisely. Hence the linear nature of time.
So if you could keep going backwards in time forever,
which you wouldn't be able to do.
Then if there was only one moment in time, right, that has been traveling for an infinite, that has been traveling.
The penny's dropped.
It's not coherent.
No, it's not.
Right?
Yeah.
So
therefore, we have
it's
two options.
incompatible with a single moment in time existing.
Exactly.
I suppose.
So the universe has a beginning. The question now is, the universe, did it bring itself about, or was there something outside of the universe that brought it about? If the universe has a beginning,
well, in this specific thing, you say there's only one moment in time that exists, then you can say there could not have traveled an infinite distance. Right. You can only have traveled a finite distance.
Right, so therefore the universe, because we only travel a finite distance, therefore the universe is a beginning.
If you have a single present. If you have multiple moments in time that are traveling through time, you can have infinite time.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can, because, for example,
how can you
might be able to go back in time infinitely, or just keep going back in time and never reach the beginning. But I was born at a particular point in time, and I've lived since that point in time. And that's a finite life.
Yes.
Right? So that's a finite journey through time. All journeys through time must be finite.
Yes.
But there could be multiple concurrent journeys throughout boundless time.
That doesn't make sense.
It's not concurrent in time, but concurrent in space.
Yeah, so look. Those multiple journeys ultimately still will end up suffering the problems and the questions that we spoke about in Infinite Universe, because either those multiple journeys have a beginning or they don't.
Well, I'm saying that my life has a beginning.
Yeah.
My life has an end.
Yeah.
But that can still exist with on a number line, right? You can say these are all the numbers. Let's pretend they're years, and we say, okay, this is the year I was born, and now this is the year I died. No, that's a finite distance.
But I'm talking about not you and me and a neat finite thing. I'm talking about the sum total of all things that exists. The universe, like we said in the beginning, the Earth that contains you and I and everything else, the sum total of matter, does that have a beginning or not? If it does, then you can't wriggle your way out of this by claiming that, there are multiple journeys and they could go back, in some infinite fashion to the...
So I see this idea, right, saying that, let's say there's an object we say has been around forever. That would require an infinite journey, right? That would mean that this object has been there throughout time. My instinct is, while I agree with you on the single present example and saying, you can't travel, you can't say there's an infinite distance between us and a point we reach by traveling finite steps one at a time, right?
And so what's the opposite of infinite, other than absolute beginning?
Yeah, if you talk about journeys, you'd say there's substance in the universe that has, basically, you cannot allege that this object has traveled through an infinite amount of time by taking finite steps.
So we've already gone over this a number of times. If we can't do that, then the universe, which is the sum total of all matter, has a beginning. Now the question then...
No, it has a beginning, but it's contextual. There are still other possibilities.
What other possibilities? Even if I grant you a beginning to that universe, how does that universe not having an absolute beginning? Because there's a third possibility, and then you immediately jump to, there's a way of making a shortcut. I can grant you the shortcut, i.e. someone right at the beginning had some time machine and they were able to doesn't negate the fact that the universe has a beginning. So what's the third option?
So I think, well, let me work through the example. So I think there is a conflict. What I'm agreeing with is that if you take finite steps, so basically adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll never pass infinity. Right? Infinity is not on the number.
Agreed.
There's no number of steps where you have traveled an infinite.
Yeah, it's called the traversal of the infinite. Yeah.
So, but there are other ways of traveling where...
And does that ways of traveling negate the fact that if an infinite doesn't exist, there is only something that is finite, and therefore a finite thing by its very definition has either the beginning point came about from nothing, or the beginning point was a cause in and of itself.
So a beginning point to time is a time where you can go back no further, right? But what that initial state looked like, it could have just been a snapshot in time. Right.
And what would that snapshot be?
Look, it could be any state.
Use your rationale and say to yourself, are you scared of saying nothing? Why don't you just say that, look, my rationale has it that either nothing before the universe existed, and then we have to figure out what that nothingness even means, or there was something that brought the universe about, or the universe itself brought itself about. Those are the
universe just has a beginning.
Yes.
Like a moment that first.
Right. So when the universe brought itself about, could it have brought itself about? Was it dormant in some type of singularity, and then suddenly it decides, I'm going to bring myself apart?
I don't know what you mean by bring itself about.
Because remember, it's not eternal.
Yeah, I'm willing to work within the idea of a finite.
Right.
I do still think there are ways to make it work without finite, but I do think you're right that the finite notion is a simple way of looking at it.
Okay.
And that makes it, Occam's razor, a reasonable one to look at.
Yeah. So if the universe does have a beginning, the scarier question is, if something outside of the universe brought the universe about, what was that something? Or the universe brought itself about, which the paradoxes in regards to that are going to be taxing.
I don't understand what that would mean.
Exactly. Nor do I. So I agree with you there. Or if there was nothing outside of the universe that brought something about, that means what we're saying is that there was a point where there was nothing, and nothing brought something about.
So
do you think nothing can bring something about?
The narrative that makes the most sense to me is if you say there was a beginning to time, then that means if you go back in time, you eventually reach a moment where you can't go back any further.
Exactly.
But there's no reason established to believe that that moment was emptiness or anything other than just a day like
point that you already conceded, which was that therefore, if there was no emptiness or nothingness, it must have been infinite. You can call it an infinite singularity.
No. It's like, imagine if 10 seconds ago was the first moment in time, and we're just imagining all the things that...
There's no imagination before time, right? That's when time began. So
no, you can have a sense of false memory, for example. It's just a hypothetical. But the point is that time could have arbitrarily started 10 seconds ago, and we can't be absolutely certain that's not the case. And it could have started with all this here, and we wouldn't really know.
But look, I think it's very obvious that if the universe had a beginning, time had a beginning, because time doesn't exist without matter. Space-time, remember? They're intertwined according to you. They can't be separated. That's why they call it space-time. My understanding is far simpler than yours. My understanding is that time is an abstract quantity, i.e. it's only in the mind, and we use that to determine one point from another. So just very quickly.
We can talk about seconds.
So just very quickly, before we talk about seconds, I think it's very important that we try and get around the idea that somehow there is an imaginary minus 10 seconds before anything existed.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so what are you saying? Something exists before the universe?
For all we know, the first moment in time could have been 10 seconds ago.
No, but that would mean...
would have been, the world would have started the way the world was
Right, okay,
10 seconds
so
ago.
let's go with that. So 10 seconds before, space-time existed before space-time of this world existed. Space-time, because remember, minus 10 seconds
Yeah, that's
before...
not what I'm saying. I'm
Look.
saying that if 10 seconds ago was the first moment in time.
Imagine this is the boundary of our beginning of our universe. And this point, my finger is 10 seconds, minus 10 seconds. Right?
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying that if this is the present and this is the boundary, that this boundary is 10 seconds ago.
The present...
That's the hypothetical.
The present of what?
That the moment we are in right now.
No, but how does our present relate to the beginning of the universe that we existed?
I'm saying that hypothetically, that moment could have been 10 seconds ago, and we wouldn't be able to absolutely know
Okay,
that's not the case.
but I already
That's all I'm saying.
I granted you that already, and I thought we moved past that. Even if it took 10 seconds.
We are talking about the initial condition of the universe.
No, we're talking about what brought the universe into existence, not the initial conditions.
To me, that's a bit confusing, because
Why is that confusing? Are you
you're
scared in saying?
something caused the universe,
Yes.
and that something caused the beginning of time.
Of course.
To me, causality is inherently bound to time. Causality cannot happen outside of time.
Okay, so therefore, what brought the universe into existence? If causality is bound to time and time is bound to matter,
This is
just very
why-
quickly, and bound to matter, what was it that brought the universe into existence? It must have been something. If the universe, just very quickly,
Not the beginning of the universe.
just the beginning of the universe, the beginning of time is the beginning of the universe, because according to you, space-time are intertwined. So now you believe that they're not intertwined?
So-
that time can exist outside of matter?
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's the idea that the beginning of, when you say beginning of time, that would be, if you were to construct a timeline, there's no way to put a moment before that.
Yes.
So if you talk about something causing the beginning of time,
Yes.
to me that's very confusing, because
Okay.
causality can only happen across time.
Right, okay.
So before time, there was no causality.
Okay, so what brought the universe about? If you are
Well,
not...
that's why I'm not, the idea of the universe having a beginning is...
Okay, so if we say that the universe did have a beginning, the only other option is that there must have been some cause outside of the universe that accounts for the universe coming into effect.
Again, when we're talking about time, some kind of cause before time.
Yes, because how did the universe come about? If you deny the cause, the universe was brought about by nothingness. Why? Because look, the absence of a cause is nothingness. If you say that there is no cause, there's nothingness. What other third option is there? Give me the third option, please, because I'm confused now. There's no cause. Something brought the universe about. What's the third option if it's not nothingness?
To me, this is what's tricky about the idea of the beginning of time, because then you can say, there was some condition that was there, but it wasn't before the start of the universe. That condition was the start of the universe.
Okay, so let's go with that. So
But then
something
it didn't cause the universe.
So
It's
something-
just the initial state of the universe.
Sure.
The question isn't what created the universe. The question is what was the initial state of the universe.
No.
To me, that's the
Not
only
the-
question that makes sense in this context with this cosmology.
Okay, so if the universe has a cause within itself, either the universe is infinite or it has a beginning, and then you have to ask yourself, how did the universe decide to bring itself about?
But see, again, that feels like projecting time into the beginning, like saying a cause
Yeah,
at
but
the
the-
beginning of time.
yeah, but
To
the
me, that
beginning-
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but sir, the beginning of time, the beginning of the universe is the beginning of time. So you can't just turn your brain off and say that the beginning of the universe, there was no time,
I would like to focus on the beginning of time, because to me that is more
which is the beginning of the universe.
Yeah, we can say that.
Yes, of course, we have to say that. Otherwise,
I mean,
you're denying
there are
the...
different notions of the universe. Some people say the universe was not, like there's notions of multiple universes, etc.
Multiple universes still go back to the question of whether an infinite universe can
Whether there's
exist.
a beginning of time, right? So the question, I don't want to think about universes. I want to think about time. I want to think about the beginning of time.
Right. So let's talk about the beginning of time.
The beginning of time, I think about the first condition. What was the first moment like? Because I don't. If you try to go, you can't go before that.
No, you can't.
Right. So the question to me is, what was the first moment
Okay.
like? And
So,
to me,
can I ask you a question? When the universe came about, was there a point when the universe was not there? And think about very carefully your answer, because if you say yes, I'm going to ask you, therefore it has to be infinite. If you say no, the only question that I'm going to ask you is, therefore there was nothing.
So this is a scenario a bit outside of how I tend to think about the origin of this world and the universe and time. But what I am inclined to believe is the easiest first moment to get from there to here is a moment that is more or less like any other moment in time. Maybe it has some special properties, but on the whole, it's not that different from the present. It would still be matter, etc.
No, I think you're just completely bypassing the most important question of all. You just completely ignored the universe's beginning and the two possibilities for whether the universe existed or not, and you're just taking the universe's beginning as a given, and then saying that the universe's beginning progressed from that point up. But
yeah, I mean,
what's that going to do with it? What's that?
In time, my problem
What's that going to do with anything?
I don't understand how to assess the causality of what caused the first moment in time.
Because
to me,
that's
causality happens over time.
No, but
so the first moment in time inherently does not have a cause.
Right. So therefore, what brought the universe about? If the universe's very beginning point is the beginning of time, what brought the universe about?
Again,
Either it was
there was nothing brought it
either
about.
exactly.
I mean,
Thank you.
It's not
Finally.
coherent to say something brought it
Precisely.
about.
So now, ask yourself the question: nothingness is the absence of all things. Power, energy.
No. That's not what's meant by nothing.
Don't say nothingness.
That's not what I mean.
Don't say what people like.
What I mean is there was not anything that brought it about.
And what define for me what not anything is?
What I mean is it was not brought about. That's what I mean when I say nothing brought it about. I mean it was not brought about.
So you use the word nothingness. What is nothing? What is the word nothing in your imagination?
As I said, it means it was not brought about. So there's nothing you could say. You couldn't point to anything and say this is what brought the universe about. That's what I mean when I say nothing brought it about. I'm not saying that it was nothingness that brought it about.
Okay,
that actually
good.
Contradicts.
Okay, good.
Saying.
So therefore, there was something that brought about the universe.
No, I'm saying that it was not brought about. That's what I'm saying.
My friend.
To say it was
my friend.
I don't
You
understand.
claiming that it was not brought about by something does not negate the fact that something did bring it about.
My claim has been consistently that I don't understand the idea of a cause to the beginning of time. Again, I'm talking about time, not the universe.
Okay. What third option is there? What? The only option thereafter is I don't want to know. Turn my brain off and walk away.
To me, I don't see how you could know. I see the question of what was the first moment.
I'll tell you how we do know. I'll tell you how we know. Because, like we mentioned it right at the beginning of our conversation, we go by that which we know, not by that which we don't know. What we know is that the sum total of all our experiences, the sum total of how scientists do their work in the real world is causes bringing about effects. That means if we grant that the universe came to the present moment in time through these causes and effects, and these causes came to a halt at the beginning of the universe, the only answer we can have for what brought the universe about is the sum total of what we have, which is a cause.
No, because that contradicts the idea of causality. You
What's
have
the
an idea like a cause.
Then if it contradicts
as I said, it was not brought about.
Okay, so if it contradicts the notion of causality, either nothing brought it about,
or it was not brought about.
What do you mean by it was not brought about? The universe exists. The universe exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just has a beginning.
And do we not recognize that the law of causality is real? So when you say it was not brought about, that's like you saying I don't exist, but you do.
No.
You exist by the very fact that you're talking.
Causality operates over time. Causality is on one moment in time affecting the next.
Okay.
If you go to the first moment in time,
okay,
there's no moment in time before it to
if,
cause things in it.
And so if there is a cause, there would be time before that time, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Okay. So therefore, now that we've come to the point where there is a time before this time, the time of this world, we can now ask the question: if this universe had a beginning. And just one, my friend, very quickly, because we're almost there, I think. We're almost home. If the universe has a beginning, right? The universe has a beginning, time has a beginning, and these are brought about through causes. If the question of the universe not being infinite is true, the cause that brought the universe into existence cannot be infinite. Does that make sense?
So it doesn't line up with what I have been saying.
No, but you and I, we just agreed that the cause that brought the universe about brought it about in time. So there was a time before this universe, right?
If the universe has a cause, that cause must have happened in a moment in time.
Yes,
there must have been
exactly.
Time
Now here's the next question. Did that cause have a beginning? If it did, then the same questions that we asked of the universe, we're now going to have to ask of the cause that brought the universe about.
Sure, you can iterate back in terms of causality or just flow of time.
Precisely.
What was the moment before.
And you remember when we spoke about an actual infinite existing in the real world? If we negated that, we have to negate the idea that there are infinite number of causes now that brought the universe about. So we go back.
To me, this is
we go
a separate
back.
point.
We go back to exactly the same point we began at. That there cannot be an actual infinite in the real world, because remember, we're negating causes. Now there is a way out of here, and it is two. Like I mentioned, either I don't know, I don't care, turn my brain off, walk away, or the other one is that the cause that brought the universe about is eternal and self-consistent.
So again, causality can only happen within time.
Yep, I've gone to that already.
Beginning of time.
Yep, I've gone to that already.
And the beginning of time does not have a cause. It cannot have a cause.
Yeah, so I've gone to that already by explaining to you that the cause that brought the universe about is eternal. That can be within time.
Yes, something could exist outside of time, but it
No, you're missing the point. If the cause that brought the universe about, like you and I agreed, is in time, the only way out of the infinite regress problem is to say that the cause that brought the universe about is eternal, and it's in time.
I think I see the point you're trying to make, which is, are you saying that time must have an infinite regress, or not?
Yes, you can say that.
So if you assert time must have an infinite regress because of the start of the first moment in time problem we just discussed, then you're saying that if the universe has a cause, that cause
has to be eternal, and it has to be self-consistent.
Traveled. Well, if there's no beginning, then you run into, I think, the paradox of the singular present.
No, I'll tell you what. This being has to be something that the universe and all its causes cannot be. The universe and all its causes are internally based. They depend upon each other. The universe, the present moment requires the past. That is what causes the infinite regress. The only way out of that infinite regress is by positing an idea, which is that the thing that brought the universe into existence, it has to be eternal, it has to be self-consistent, not dependent upon anything.
Okay.
That's the only way out.
Are you saying there is a moment in time in which the universe began?
Yes.
So to me, a lot of the baggage comes with that assertion itself.
Okay, but remember, for me, it's the present moment that exists, not the past. So when we bring into the understanding only the present exists, the present only exists.
You assert that?
Yes. So the present is brought about by the past. When this world was brought about, it was brought about by this eternal cause that did so in the present moment. Not in the past, not in the future, because the past and the future do not exist. So the paradigm has to now take into effect the following. The cause has to be in time, it has to be eternal, and it has to create in the present moment.
Yes, so were saying that rather than the first present being the first moment in time, that the first present was rather an arbitrary moment in time.
The first present has always been that one. The only present moment is what really matters. You can put it like that.
Right, but if we say what was the first present and where was that relative to the beginning of time?
Yeah, there is no first present because the first present is now.
So there's no previous presence.
No, obviously, whatever present moment is occurring at this moment in time is the present. Anything before that,
the universe is created in the present moment.
It was. When the universe, let's just say t equals 0 of the universe would have been the present moment. T equals 1 would have been that present moment. So the present moment is what we know. That's why
I'm asking you about if you are using a model.
Yeah, but remember my model.
Has no beginning.
Remember my model was based upon the present moment, causes and effects, and that's the only way we can know the world.
To be clear, are we talking about a scenario where time has no beginning?
Time isn't something that I don't believe time is interwoven into the fabric of space. It's not a real thing. Time is merely a measurement.
Then do you think there is a first present?
No. Oh, sorry.
Not a first present.
You mean for the universe? Or in general?
I'm trying to understand your idea of present.
The present moment is now.
And there have been other presents in the past.
There have been a countless number of present moments.
So is that a finite count?
Nope.
Okay, so countless presents.
Yep.
You can keep paging through the past presents.
Yep.
Indefinitely.
Brought about by which thing? What was it brought about by?
Well, causality with an infinite stream is...
No, not causality in this world. We're talking about causality of a thing that has to be eternal and self-consistent. Otherwise, the same problems that bedevil the universe coming about, we have to ask of that cause. If that cause if that cause was dependent upon previous causes, yes, then your paradox would come into effect. But then we wouldn't have an answer to how the universe came about.
So,
other than, by the way, turning your brain off, walking away.
Causality requires time. Causality happens in time. The idea of eternal cause could only to me be taken as something that is persistently true and causes something in every moment. And it's not a cause that is prior, it's a cause that is contemporaneous.
Yes.
But even then, that isn't really a cause to me. That's a condition that drives something.
Yeah,
It's not a cause.
You can call it a condition, but causality in our world has it that certain things come together. Like for instance, if the sun is going to shine, the causes that require the sunlight to reach us have to be present. If they're obscured, the sunlight will not be able to reach us. So for instance, at the moment, the causes that are obscuring sunlight reaching your face are the clouds. But that doesn't negate the fact that the sun is the cause of the light reaching our face. So no matter which way you try and slice it, the law of causality exists, yes, to account for this world. If it accounts for this world, and we recognize that the universe itself couldn't have come about by itself, and it's brought about by this eternal self-subsistent cause, you still have to call it a cause. It's just that cause is greater.
To me, causality is one moment in time forcing the next moment in time. So everything is caused by the prior moment.
Yeah, well,
subscribe to that
not just one cause, but multiple causes. But I understand where you're going.
A chain of causes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But remember that what exists is the present moment, not the past.
The problem for me is stretching the language of causality to talk about either the beginning of time or an eternal.
Okay. So what else would you describe something that has complete control of the present moment? Meaning, the present moment and all its present moment causes could not occur except through the ultimate cause. What else would you call it? Give me a word that describes that. Silence?
So you're talking
you want to call it? Would you like to call it T? Let's call it T.
You're talking about a concurrent cause, which is a confusing notion, and my instinct is not to call that causality, but to call it something else.
No, sir. I'm calling it the ultimate cause. in order to get our head around the major problem of an infinite regress. The present moment
Talk
has
about ultimate cause. You're either talking about a beginning of time, or you're saying time is infinite, and there is something parallel to time that is eternal that explains, that drives what we see in each moment.
exactly. That's it. You got it.
That's the interpretation you're using. I don't see that as causality, but I understand what you're talking about.
Okay.
You're saying
I call it the creator. I call this the creation with all its multifaceted causes, and the one that brought the causes about is the ultimate cause. Everything restricted to the present moment in time, the past and present not existing. And there's a verse, just very quickly, I know you might need to go. There's a verse in the Quran where God says, or were they created by nothing? Or did they create themselves? Or are they the creators of the universe? Neither have no certainty. For the scholars of Islam, they've understood this verse to mean that the present moment could only persist through a cause that exists outside of the universe.
So it had sounded to me earlier that you were saying the universe is continually created in the present.
Yes.
And to me, that's a more coherent perspective than the other ones we've looked at.
Yeah, more a case of not created but sustained. The creator, the cause of all things, sustains the universe from one present moment to the next.
But we still have the problem with a series of presents. You say there have been past presents.
Only if we negate the idea of an ultimate cause, then we are dependent upon the causes within the universe itself. And then that's when we have an infinite number of causes.
I keep getting confused over the exact perspective.
Okay, let me put it like this. You have dependent causes and you have independent causes. The ultimate cause is independent. The causes within the universe where the present necessarily requires, the immediate past causes are dependent causes.
So again, it sounds to me like you're talking about something being driven not by a past moment in time, but by something contemporaneous with it.
Precisely.
Right, and that makes more sense than several of the other perspectives we've looked at.
Yeah, and that's all God is.
So
From the Islamic perspective, when we look at the Quran, for instance, I don't know whether you've ever read the Quran. Have you ever read it?
some of it.
So the Quran constantly is pushing Muslims and mankind in general to look at the universe.
So the issue to me
Do
is
you know why that is? Why is it that the Quran is pushing the Muslims? We will show them our signs within the furthest horizons and also within themselves until it becomes manifest to them that this is the truth. Meaning the Quran and everything around us is the truth. It's telling us to look at the universe. You know what it reminds me of? And maybe I'll stop. I'll end with this. But it reminds me of a meme. It's a funny meme. And maybe we can end this on a light note. I'll give you the last word. But the meme was about a fish swimming through the sea, right? Swimming through the sea, all its life swimming through the sea, and asking for evidence for H2O. For us, the universe is an evidence of the fact that we have to ask these very important questions about the present moment.
So to me, there are two issues. So first, just in terms of language, I don't love calling a contemporaneous thing a cause. Right? Then second, I wonder about the predictive power of this interpretation. What abilities does this actually give us? If we say that there's this consistent condition that is present at every moment of time, or in every present, and that is what causes there to be a present.
Or sustains it?
Yeah, I'm just not clear what predictions this makes.
You don't need predictions. What it does, I'll tell you what it...
Scientific models do make predictions. So to me, it feels weird to prefer a model that doesn't make predictions about the future.
You're
or doesn't
conflating.
give me utility.
You're conflating two things here. You're conflating the knowledge that we have and the scientists have of being able to make predictions based upon the sum total of their knowledge of the past, and trying to answer the obvious question of whether the universe is eternal or finite. Those two are entirely different things. I can grant you that, look, so just very quickly, I can grant you that the scientific model is something that even the Muslim scholars would affirm, because obvious, it's a priori. We make predictions of the future based upon the sum total of knowledge that we as a human collective have acquired over a long period of time. I can grant you that, but it still doesn't provide an answer to how the universe came about.
Yeah, I agree that an answer can be true without being necessarily useful, right? But my question is, if this comes into conflict with scientific interpretation, for example, talking about the past and future existing and still being around, then my inclination is to prefer a model that gives me some utility, that lets me make predictions or control things.
Yeah, look, utility is such an important part of any person's life.
The issue is utility and testability are connected.
Look, you don't need to test the present. That's why I asked you about the present moment in time. I can just say to you the following. It is obvious that human beings have, are, and will always be bound to the present moment in time. There is nothing that I've come across in the scientific journals that even comes close to this, to positing this idea that we'll be able to somehow break free of the present and time travel back in the past and create a grandfather's paradox. There's absolutely nothing. I mean, it's wonderful in movies. It's wonderful in movies, but we don't go by movies. We go by what we know to be obvious, the present moment in time. That's all. So my point here is, I'm not asking you to make a paradigm leap outside of the obvious. I'm keeping you to that which all human beings agree to, and I've used that to demonstrate that the universe, number one, doesn't have a beginning. It's not infinite, it has a beginning. And that the only way around the idea of an infinite regress is to posit a cause outside of the universe that exists in the present.
So you're asserting the universe does have a beginning, and that time has a beginning.
For this world, yes.
Well,
not in general. Remember, we said that.
So that was my understanding. That your position is time does not have a beginning.
Yeah, because remember, time is relative, right?
Yeah, time does not have a beginning. The universe has a beginning, and there's an infinite regress of present moments.
Yes. So the beginning of this. So the beginning of this world, we can arbitrarily say at the beginning of this world, t equals 1. Why? Because it's a utilitarian way of being able to make sense of our world. Does that make sense?
I still don't understand your perspective in terms of the explanatory power of this.
The explanatory power is that everything I've given you is based in the present moment. And that's something that is intuitive. It's obviously known.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, look.
To me, it's not... I mean, I obviously believe of things that are true at any moment in time, right? That have been true throughout time. I believe in that. But the exact role that you're attributing to, the idea of it solving this paradox of infinite regression, that's what I'm not clear on.
No worries.
I don't see the paradox resolution.
That's okay. We've had a good conversation. I'm hoping that maybe I've prompted you down that journey. I was down there.
Yeah,
I was on that journey myself. But listen, what's your name?
Eric.
Eric Hamza. Nice to meet you. Thanks for your time, my friend. All right, all the best.